Hi everyone. Today I'm going to introduce to you the major Chinese dynasties, but don't be fooled. I'm not an expert in history or geography. I'm not a professor I don't have a professorship in history or geography. It's just that if you have heard the names of the major Chinese dynasties, and especially if you know how those characters that correspond to the names of the dynasties are pronounced in Chinese, it will help you with your language learning, because most of those characters, as I'm going to show you, most of the names I'm going to show you and explain to you, their characters crop up in many different other words in modern Chinese, so it will definitely help you to read and understand Chinese texts once you have memorized the characters and the corresponding pronunciations of these characters. So let's start. This first character you might know already. This is Shang. This is the Shang Dynasty. The English people say Shang Dynasty, but the correct pronunciation is Shang Dynasty. And this character also, as I've probably mentioned somewhere else already, also crops up in the word shop, Shang Dian. So when you see this Shang, you know this is the first syllable of Shang Chao, the Shang Dynasty, and Shang Dian of the shop, which is a very useful and very common Chinese word. Of course, the word shop, Shang Dian, is very important, and if you have anything to do with Chinese culture and history, Shang Chao, the Shang Dynasty, is also very important. This is the Zhou Dynasty. Zhou Chao, Zhou Chao, Zhou Chao. By the way, a Chao or a Chao Dai is the Chinese word for dynasty, but the important thing here for this Chao Dai is Zhou, the Zhou Dynasty. And this character is very useful because it appears in very common words such as Zhou Mo, which means weekend. Mo in many contexts means end, and this here is Zhou Mo. But I'll cover the topic in greater depth later. Zhou Mo, Zhou Chao, the Zhou Dynasty, and Zhou Mo, weekend. This is Qin, the Qin Dynasty, Qin Chao. And this, of course, is the Han Chao, the Han Dynasty, Han Chao. This is the traditional way of writing it, and this is the simplified way of writing it. You see a lot less strokes, but also a lot of things that are not in these characters anymore. This is the Fanti, and this is the Diantizi. This character is extremely important because it crops up in things like the word for the Chinese language, Hanyu. Chinese people have two major ways of referring to the Chinese language itself. One is Zhongwen. You know that the word for China is Zhongguo, and Zhongwen is basically the language of the Middle Kingdom. Zhongguo is the Middle Kingdom, and Zhongwen is the language of the Middle Kingdom. But this Han, you have all heard about the Han Dynasty probably, and this is the character for this. This is the modern character for it, Han Chao. And when you say, you don't say Hanwen usually, but you usually say Hanyu, which is about the same meaning as Zhongwen. So Zhongwen and Hanyu mean Chinese, the language. Hanyu, Han Chao. This is the Sui Dynasty. And if you add radical here, you can use it, for example, the word Sui Bian, as you wish. Somebody asks you, how would you like to do this project? And you just say, Sui Bian, do it the way you want to do it, or we'll just do it the way you want to do it, Sui Bian. This is the character for the Tang Dynasty, Tang Chao. And the interesting thing about this character is if you add a little radical here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strokes here, then you get a word for sugar. But the really important thing about this dynasty is really its cultural importance for language, literature, and poetry. Because some of the most important poets in the history of China have lived during the Tang Dynasty. The three most important are, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I've read the opinion of people who know much more about poetry, is of course Du Fu, Li Bai, and Wang Wei. So in future episodes I will probably do a lot of stuff about this dynasty here, because it's not that ancient as the other dynasties, but it's extremely important for, as I said, literature, culture, poetry. Some say that the poet Du Fu is as important for China as Shakespeare is for the English-speaking realm. So those in this Tang Chao, there lived, as I said, Du Fu, Wang Wei, and Li Bai, the three most important people probably in Chinese, the history of Chinese poetry. This is Song Chao, and you see again here this nice little radical of this roof, and this nice little wood, Mu, here. Then we have the Yuan dynasty, and this simplified version of this character. This modern version you can find in many different words, like the yuan as a denomination for money. But this character, in my opinion, is even more important, of the Ming Dynasty, Ming Chao. You might remember, I think I'm making him, anyway, who cares? Let's just do this shit, I don't care. Ming Chao, the Ming Dynasty, is very famous, of course, for the porcelain, but this character is very important for words like Ming Tian, which means tomorrow. Ming Tian Jian, see you tomorrow. Ming Tian Jian. This character belongs to the Qin Dynasty. Qin. This is for Zhonghua, Minguo, for Zhonghua, Minguo, and this is basically the republic which existed in the past, but which now does not exist in mainland China anymore. This is the name of Mao Zedong, and it basically denominates what happened after Mao took power in China. This is the name of what China at this day currently is, the People's Republic of China, Zhonghua Renmin共和国, and this is something very general for the population. This has something to do with communism, and this again is the simplified version of the word country. He means and, he. And this is the character for Taiwan, and this is the character for Xianggang. And as you might know, Xianggang has been returned to the People's Republic of China, to Zhonghua Renmin共和国. So Xianggang, which might translate to something like the very well-smelling or the well-perfumed haven or something. It's now again under the jurisdiction of the People's Republic of China. Okay, so after I've told you a little bit about these characters and about these names, I want to sing you a little song which helps to remember these characters. And as I've been told, if you repeat it many times, you can remember these characters. I'm not 100% convinced, but I think it's a nice song anyway, and you might recognize the melody of this song. The song for memorizing the major Chinese dynasties goes: Shang Zhou Qin Han, Shang Zhou Qin Han, Sui Tang Song, Yuanminqing Republic, Yuanminqing Republic, Mao Zedong. Again, Shangzhou Jinhan, Shangzhou Jinhan, Sui Tang Song, Sui Tang Song, Yuanminqing Republic, Yuanminqing Republic, Mao Zedong. So please memorize these characters and try reading them and writing them. And I will see you guys next time.